ReeferGil here. We're in my water making station downstairs. I want to do a video on the series build that I'm going to be doing to make my water making station a little bit more efficient. Water changes are probably my least favorite part of the hobby, and the way I have it configured now is okay. I've done it for a year, but after a year of doing it this way, I want to change it up to make it a little bit easier on myself to do the water changes. Ideally, I would love to have the water just pour out directly from the tank into some kind of drain and then switch another valve open to bring water back up. I just don't have the ability to do that, so I'm going to do the next best thing and work with the wood. Here's the wood I'll be using to build the shelving. I have 2x4 pieces of wood. They're 7 feet long and they cost about $3 each at Home Depot. And then I have the shelving where the containers of water will be sitting, the brew containers will be sitting on these pieces of shelving here, one on top of the other. Alright, here I have some PVC pieces that I'll be using for the project. You can see here I have a couple of bulkheads, one for each of the bottom of the receptacles. And then I have a single uniseal bulkhead that I'll be using for the saltwater bin. The reason I'll be using this type of bulkhead on the side of the container is because the sides of the container are round, and in order for one of these to properly fit securely on its surface, it has to be a flat surface. Otherwise you may be encountering some leaks if I try to put it on a bowed surface. So for that purpose they make these uniseals. They go on bowed surfaces and create a seal. So we'll see how this works out for me. And then I have some valves to open up water flow into my 5-gallon containers, and then I could just simply shut it off. Unions and a couple other PVC fittings I'll be using for the project. This will be the pump that I'll be using to mix my saltwater bin. It's basically going to recirculate the water in the saltwater bin once the water salt is in there, to mix the salt and dilute it in the water. It's an external pump. It goes by two names. It goes by the Panworld 40PX or the Blue Line HD20. It does a max flow of about 480 gallons per hour and max head pressure of about 13.5 feet with 3/4 inch fittings here. Here's some of the quick specs if you're interested. You can pause the video and look at those. But I picked it up on Amazon for about $85, I want to say. I did notice that one of the little feet right here are bent up. Not a big deal. I'll just pound that down with a hammer and set it on maybe a piece of plywood on the floor, and then we'll see how quiet or loud this thing is and how well it performs. And for the bottom of each shelf, what we did to support the weight of the bin filled with water up on top, we put these 2x4s across the shelf at the bottom, and that way we'll be able to support the weight of the water bin up on top, and fastened a whole bunch of screws throughout the structure to give it more stability and support. Right now we're looking at the bottom of one of the 32-gallon brew containers. You can see that it has a bulkhead sticking out of the bottom here, and then I attached this fitting here. It screws in, and then this is where I'm going to start my 1-inch plumbing to the saltwater bin down below. What I used to drill the hole was a 45mm diamond cut drill bit. It's really made for glass, or it can be used for glass, but it sliced through this like butter. It didn't bite down on the plastic or anything. It was really smooth. I wish I'd have done the video on the actual cut, but I will do a video on the actual cut on one of the lids, which is exactly the same way I cut the bottom of each of the water containers. Here's my drill bit. It's a 45mm diamond cut drill bit. This is exactly the way I drilled the bottom of the barrels for the bulkheads, but since I didn't get that on video, I'll get this part on video, so at least you get an idea how to do it. What I want to do first is go ahead and start the drill at an angle. And then flatten it out. And put a little bit of pressure down. Oh. Try that again. Let's speed this up. I think my battery's dying. That's it. My battery's a little low, otherwise it would have been a little smoother. But you get the idea, and that's exactly how I did the bulkhead holes at the bottom of the barrel. Here's the end result of the hole we just drilled. You can see the hose going into the hole. I did get this Uniseal bulkhead. You can see without it, it's kind of sloppy looking, and there's a lot of room for debris or whatever to get into the saltwater bin. So by placing this there, it kind of eliminates that. I'll probably use some silicone and glue it down later, but that's what the final look looks like on this particular part. Now let's go ahead and fill this thing up. I get a little creative and paint all the PVC pipes this red color here. I originally started off with this acrylic from Michaels. It was just taking too long. The white kept showing. I was in my third, fourth coat, and I really don't have the time to be painting. The project was a little longer than I anticipated, so then I went back to Michaels and just bought this Crayon acrylic red gloss paint, and that finished up the job quite nicely since I already had the base paint on there already. But I'm going to do all the PVC pipes only in red and leave all the fittings in white. So that should give it a nice clean look, I hope. We'll see. Not to get too sidetracked, but this is pretty relevant to what I'm doing here. This is my CoreLife PureFlow 2 50 gallon per day system. It came with just the 4 stages that you see here. I upgraded the internals to bulk reef supply, canisters, and a 75 gallon per day membrane. I also added this DI resin here, so now it's a 5-stage unit. The problem is with this CoreLife PureFlow 2 hardware is that I've developed a leak over the past month or so. Can't get it to stop, so I am going to replace this entire unit with a bulk reef supply hardware, which should be coming very soon. So I will be replacing this whole unit with bulk reef supply and keeping the internals. I replaced the CoreLife RO system with this bulk reef supply RO system. I purchased the economy style one, the cheapest one, and then just switched over all of my accessories from the previous RO system, and then converted this 4-stage system that I purchased into a 5-stage system so that I can include this DI resin stage here. So far so good. I'm getting 1 part of product water for every 2 parts of wastewater. Okay, the saltwater making station is now up and running. I did do a leak test. It did have a couple of leaks, not a big deal, but the saltwater making station is now functional. We'll go ahead and do a tour of the system. First of all, the water source comes from this faucet here. It's teed off. One's going to go to the washing machine, the other tee, the red line, goes to the RODI unit. From the RODI unit, the RODI water will go through and into this bin here. This bin will fill up with water. It has a auto top off inside. I'm sorry, a float switch inside, which will turn off the water so I don't get it to overflow. The bottom of this bin has a bulkhead, comes down to a T. This valve I turn on and gravity feed water into the saltwater bucket down below, where then I can then mix the aqua vitro salt that I have here into the bin, and I'll show you how the water is mixed with the pump. And then the other end of the T here, I have another valve where I can turn this, and the fresh water will be gravity fed down this tube and into a 5-gallon jug for auto top off. I have the tubes in these little brackets that I painted red also, just to match everything, but just to keep the hoses out of the way. And then the saltwater bin also has a bulkhead at the bottom. Comes out to a T. This valve here is used in case the pump ever fails and I can't get water out. I can gravity feed all the water out, attach a hose, and then just shoot all the water out down the driveway. Coming around here, I still have to put a valve either here or here prior to the pump, just in case I want to do any maintenance to the pump itself. If I undo this union, the water is going to be gravity fed out and spill out as soon as that union's undone, so I have to get a valve to shut it off to prevent that. I would have done that already, but I don't have a valve on hand. So moving on, we go to the Panworld Pump, which is on right now. Very, very quiet. I'm super happy with this thing. It does get a little warm to the touch, but other than that, it's very quiet. The water then passes through the pump, comes up this PVC here, and into the saltwater bin, and then it will circulate the water mixed with the salt, and within 24 hours I'll have a good mix of salt water that I can use. In order to obtain the salt water and put it into one of these 5-gallon bins, the pump will be on. It'll suck water out of the bin, pump it up through this PVC here, up, and then I could just turn this valve and again fill up the water, the salt water, in a 5-gallon jug. Excuse me, and I'm sorry I'm doing this without the tripod. The salt water is monitored by this pinpoint salinity monitor here, and then I have this little $11 thermometer that I have in the saltwater bin. The saltwater bin itself has, let's see if we could open it up. It does have a Aquarium pump there, and it also has a heater right next to it. I don't know if you can see it. The reason I have the Aquarium pump there is because I found that the salt was settling at the edges of the barrel, so I put the Aquarium pump there to make sure the salt stays suspended during the mix. I also have the pumps on a timer. Once the salt water is already mixed, the pumps are only going to stay on for about 6 hours a day just to keep the water circulated and keep it from going stale. And then the heater's always plugged in, and that's right here. And then I have this DJ bar that I purchased, 4-station DJ bar, and this is for the Aquarium, the Panworld. This DJ bar is connected to the timer here. Show you a quick demonstration of how this system works. I'll go ahead and take some fresh water out by turning this valve here and filling up the 5-gallon bucket down below. See, it's filling it up pretty fast. I'm going to need both hands in a second, so I'm going to put down the camera, but I just want to give you an idea of how if any of you are like me where you have a small area and you're trying to fit these two big old barrels there for your salt water and your RODI water side by side, the solution to saving space is to build something like this, where you build a stand and you have one bin on top of the other, so long as you have the overhead space, I guess. But the final product came out great. I'm very happy with it. I want to thank my buddy Raphael for helping me build the stand. I want to thank all of you for watching, and don't forget to comment, and if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you all for watching, and have a great day.